Alright guys, so now for this final part of the design tutorial, we are going to create our own few little graphics. I'm just going to show you a few little concepts about that, because all these ones, it's all been made for you, but you guys need to think about how to make your own. So what I would like you to do, make sure you're still in the design tab, and we're going to create ourselves a quick little artboard by going to artboards and choosing that. And I might name this as home, or yep, that sounds good. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to use some different drawing tools to create buttons and those sorts of things. So let's start by getting some text. Click the text there, and I want you to just click into some space, and we will call this home. Come back up to your selection tool there, and you can see that we can move that around. Now, when I select it, I've got some different properties here that I can do. So I can align it to left, I can align it center, align it right. I can change the font. Let's say that, Japanese 2020, why not? You can choose whatever you want. I can increase the size of it by increasing this number here. And any of these other properties I could do here as well. I could increase the space between the letters if I wanted to. I could change the fill color, and I could give it a border too if I wanted to, for that particular reason. And then I could change the border as well, and then also change how this border is interacting with the text itself. But I'm just going to leave that there like that for now. Then I'm going to click and drag it into the top menu here, because this is going to be my heading. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Option and drag that piece of content, and I can double click and put a different message in here. So just put something like subheading, like that. I'm going to come down, make it a bit smaller, because subheadings should be a little bit smaller. Oh, that's the character spacing. I want this one here. There we go. Something like that. And there we go. Now, what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to come up and do a couple of little buttons. So to do our buttons, we can use different shapes to do that. I'm going to choose a square, and I'm going to drag a square over it like that. And then I'm going to give this a color. Might make it black, just like that. And then I'm going to take this piece of text and duplicate it. And you can see that it's now sitting behind the button. I want that text to be sitting on top. So there's a couple ways I can do that. I can right click and go bring to front. Or I can use the shortcut of Shift Command square bracket. That would work too. Or I could cut it with Command X and Command V, and that'll bring it to the front as well. I'm going to double click in here and call this button. I'm going to align it to the center, like that, and then move that into the center. So if I type that anymore, it's going to type it from the center. I'm then going to take this here, and I'm going to, I don't like these edges. I want them to be a little bit rounded. So what I can do is zoom in on my button, just like that. And I've got these little targets icons here. If I click them, I can round my button edges or corners to make it a little bit more fancy, just like that. And now I have a button, but you can see if I move them individually, the elements are still separate. So what I can do now is drag select over the top. I'm going to right click and hit group, which will now make it a group, and I can move them all together. So that's a quick way to create multiple buttons by duplicating, and a useful tool. And then I could just double click in here and change the text and make that smaller and make it fit and all those sorts of things. Okay, so there's that one there. Obviously this all needs some tweaking because it's all very different and not looking quite right. The other thing we can do is you've got these other things here. We've got lines that we can make. You can make those thicker. So this could be a hamburger menu or something like that. And then we've also got this thing called the pen tool, which allows us to draw curved shapes like that. And again, I could give it, some different effects here. Give it a drop shadow, something like that. Okay, so the best way to learn this sort of stuff is just to get in there and have a bit of a play. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take two circles here. I'm going to duplicate them and select over the top of them, and I'm going to merge those circles. For whatever reason, I've got this graphic here now that is merged and made up of two joined circles. All right, so now we've got our buttons there. If I wanted to, I could ungroup it and bring it back into its individual parts and do that if I wanted to. But I'm happy with how that's going now. And we've got a little home menu. It looks a little dodgy, but that'll do for now. And so I want you to copy along, finish that sort of stuff off, make it look similar to that. Different fonts and different colors, and that's totally fine. Hit Command S and you are now done with the design element or design tutorial. In the next one, we will look at how to prototype and give our apps a bit of interactivity. Thanks, guys.